the main emphasis is going to be at the shoulder joint. And at the shoulder joint, the main muscle that we're going to be targeting right now is going to be the long head of the biceps brachii. This is the go-to stretch for the long head of the biceps brachii group because and while we were resting, let's continue with our assisted PNF stretching demonstration. And now we're going to be targeting the superficial fibers of the shoulder flexors, elbow flexors, and forearm supinators from proximal to distal. We want the patient in a supine position at the edge of the table. We want the glenohumeral joint to clear the table. That way, we're not going to be obstructed by the table when we take them into extension. And we want to start with the forearm in a neutral position. They shouldn't be supinated or pronated. You want the palm of the patient facing their hips. And this is going to be the best stretch for the long head of the biceps brachii. What we want to do is we're going to start by neutralizing that forearm, get the thumb facing the ceiling, flex the elbow to 90, and we're going to go into slight abduction in the coronal plane, just enough to clear the table. That way we can take them into extension. From here, we have a couple options with the stabilizing hand. We could either go at the acromion, or my preferred method would be to be at the distal humerus. By going at the distal humerus, I could get a little bit of traction at that bottom position and get deeper into the stretch. But what we want to do is we're working proximal to distal, and we just want to start by building up tension. We're not going crazy with the stretch just yet. We want to build some tension, and then later on, we'll get deep into the stretch. From here, because we're working proximal to distal, I'm going to go ahead and take the patient into shoulder extension by bringing that arm down toward the ground. Then I'm going to go ahead and take the patient into elbow extension. Once I feel a little bit of tension, I'm going to go ahead, reverse my grip, and take the patient into forearm pronation. Now, from this position, we've built up some good tension. It's time to initiate the PNF sequencing. So from proximal to distal, at the shoulder joint, I'm going to instruct the patient to inhale and bring your arm up to the sky. They're going to inhale, go into shoulder flexion. On the exhale, as they relax, I'm going to traction and take them deep into shoulder extension. And now we really want to feel a nice deep stretch. Next, I'm going to instruct the patient to inhale and give me a biceps curl. They're going to inhale, go into elbow flexion. On the exhale, as they relax, I'm going to traction and take them deep into elbow extension until I feel a nice deep stretch. Next, I'm going to instruct the patient to inhale and turn your palm toward your feet. They're going to inhale, go into forearm supination, and then on the exhale, as they relax, I'm going to traction and take them deep into forearm pronation. Now that we have isolated all of the movements, it is time to integrate them all together and combine them and I'm going to instruct the patient to inhale, and I want you to simultaneously bring your arm up to the sky, give me a biceps curl, and turn your palm toward the sky. They're going to inhale and simultaneously go into shoulder flexion, elbow flexion, forearm supination. And on the exhale, as they relax, I'm going to pull to traction and simultaneously take them into shoulder extension, elbow extension, and forearm pronation. When we are focusing on the superficial fibers of the shoulder flexors, elbow flexors, and forearm supinators from proximal to distal, the main emphasis is going to be at the shoulder joint. And at the shoulder joint, the main muscle that we're going to be targeting right now is going to be the long head of the biceps brachii. This is the go-to stretch for the long head of the biceps brachii group because we are targeting all three of its main actions. The long head of the biceps brachii crosses the shoulder anteriorly, and it also crosses the elbow. It's responsible for shoulder flexion, elbow flexion, and forearm supination. So when we go into shoulder extension, elbow extension, forearm pronation, we are counteracting all three of its major actions. So if you ever have somebody with really, really tight long head of the biceps brachii, this is the go-to stretch. Another thing that we're going to be working a lot on is going to be the pectoralis major, specifically that clavicular attachment. When we are at 0 degrees, we're going to be targeting more of the lateral fibers of the clavicular attachment of the pectoralis major. And then we're also going to be getting the anterior deltoid in this position, and we'll get a little bit of the coracobrachialis. With regard to the elbow, if we move distally to the elbow, once again, we're going to be targeting those flexors. So that's the long and short head of the biceps brachii. We're getting a lot more, though, of the long head because of the long head, we are targeting all three of its main actions. And also, the long head is more of a superficial muscle, and this is a superficial stretch. But we're still getting a ton of the short head of the biceps brachii. We're also going to be getting a lot of the brachioradialis and the brachialis. To a lesser extent, we're going to be targeting the pronator teres. And then if we move distally to the forearm, at the forearm, we're going to be targeting all of those supinators. So again, we're targeting the long and short head of the biceps brachii because those muscles are also responsible for supination. And we're also going to be getting the supinator muscle. It is literally called the supinator muscle because it supinates the forearm. But again, the main emphasis is at the shoulder, and at the shoulder, the main muscle that we are working on is the long head of the biceps brachii. During the next rest period, we're going to do the same stretch, but we're going to go out 30 degrees of coronal abduction, which is going to shift the emphasis a little bit. But for right now, our rest period is up. Time for set number 2. This is one of over 500 assisted PNF stretching demonstrations that can be found as part of my 80 Days to Your Dream Body course, which is available to my channel members. If you'd like to see all of them, then consider becoming a member.